Let's try that again. So good evening from the Brampton Observatory. We are live tonight for a little while anyway. I was on earlier and unfortunately ran into some issues with my electronic focuser on both my guide scope and the main RASA telescope. More or less solved those issues, so that's why I'm on later than I normally would be for those who are tuning in live, which probably not many of you. I didn't put up any notification that I was going to be live tonight. We are currently looking at a globular cluster, which is M53, which is just a Messier object. In the night sky, globular clusters are groups of tightly bound stars together. As you can see from this, I'm just going to zoom in on it a bit. The sky conditions tonight are not the best. We've got the moon rising in the east, which fortunately comes up a little later than normal, but it's coming up now. I was just outside and can start to see the effect on it. And also these are, excuse me, rather short exposures, although this one was 5 minutes. You can see the tightly grouped pack of stars, and the image is a little grainy, obviously, because it's not a stacked or processed image. It's just basically raw data coming out of the camera and the telescope, and but interesting to look at. We are kind of at the tail end of galaxy season, which is interesting. Oops, we've lost our star here for guiding. It's gonna start again, I assume. Guiding is so-so tonight, and we are hoping to get a few galaxies in and a few other objects before we call it a night. Currently we can't get the temperature on the camera down. I prefer to go at -20, but in the summertime you're very lucky if you can get it down. Well, right now we're at -12.1, and cooling the camera basically just gives you the ability to get a cleaner picture without a lot of interference. Okay, our guiding has started again. That's good. We are not tracking for some reason or other. There we go, now tracking. So yeah, it's interesting time. Soon we'll be hopefully into nebula season, where we start to see more pretty pictures. I am using an H-alpha filter on here tonight, which is why everything kind of has a bit of a reddish tone to it. The H-alpha filter is just blocking out a lot of the light pollution. I could put a light pollution filter on here, but really didn't have time for that today, and as there was some other issues to deal with. May get on again tomorrow night for those who see this video, if you're interested. Not sure what time. It does get darker much later now, so it can be a bit of a challenge to get out late at night and try to get some imaging done. Let's have a look at what's maybe interesting out there. We've got some nebula, the Owl Nebula, some galaxies, a lot of galaxies, as we are, again, kind of in galaxy season at the moment. Let's see if we can see some interesting names here. Cat's Eye Nebula. This is kind of, it's currently at 57 degrees, so let's see if we can have a look at the Cat's Eye Nebula. And it's called the Cat's Eye Nebula because, well, it kind of looks like a cat's eye. It's considered a planetary nebula of sorts. And we're just going to slew over to that position right now. So we're not going to start with a 300-second exposure for this one, which is 5 minutes. We're going to start with something a little less than that and see what kind of clarity we can get, although our guiding seems to be really good at the moment. And it's detecting stars. So what it's doing right now is the mount's going to the position. It's doing what's called plate solving. So it's actually targeting where I have asked it to go, and it's going to auto center the image. And with any luck, the image should be in the center. These days, tools like the ASI Air and Eagle and some of the other tools out there make astronomy a lot easier, although I do recommend to everybody learn the night sky as much as you can. So yes, it is in the center. Our first image is only a few seconds, so you can kind of see it here. Not particularly interesting at this point, but let's do a 2-minute exposure and see what we get out of that for the nebula. You do have to build up time on these images in order to make them look better. Again, this is just literally raw data coming out of the camera. It's not stacked or processed in any way, which is typically what I would do after imaging something. I would get several hours, up to many hours of actual time and individual images, stack those all together, process them, and make it look like a much better image, that the kind of thing that you see in magazines and from the Hubble telescope and JWST and all that kind of telescope stuff. Those pictures, again, they just get raw data. What you see at the end is images that have been processed quite a bit, and in some cases they add what's called false color, which are different palettes. There's a Hubble palette, there's an SHO palette. Those are just the way they color the images to make them look better and stand out more, and certainly for print and media, again, kind of make them look really cool. If you were to look at a telescope at something like the Andromeda Galaxy, it would just look like a gray fuzz with some detail, depending on how big a telescope you had and what eyepiece you're using. The human eye is not capable of seeing some of the colors that stand out. The Orion Nebula is another big one. Unfortunately, I didn't get any images of Orion this year. Winter here was just awful, and didn't get out much at all. It was kind of depressing, to be honest with you. So I see we have some satellite trails here. So you can sort of start to see the outline around the nebula itself. Not very good. It's kind of not what I would hope for sure in imaging. But let's just, for giggles, try a 3-minute exposure and see if at least you can start to see some of the round gas around it, the way it just comes out away from the star itself, and then in the center of the nebula. So we'll see if we get anything better out of that, and if not, we'll certainly move on to another target. And I'm just going to go off air for a few seconds here while I go grab a drink of water. We can darken this up a little bit. Let's see if we can play around with the histogram. Yeah, there we go. And let's zoom up. Oops. To that. And we'll see what we get in about 124 seconds. And I'm just going to disappear for a moment here, and then I'll be back. Okay, so that finished. And we're back. So you can see it's very bright right now. That's because of the long exposure we did. So we'll do, let's call it auto histogram. And now you can start to see some of the expelled gas from the center. And I'm just going to stop that. This mouse I'm using a iMac here, and I find I have kind of a hair trigger mouse on this thing, so sometimes it does things I don't want it really to do. So there you can kind of see at a distance the ring around it. We would probably shoot this as a broadband image rather than with filters and play around with it in the final post-production, kind of getting it ready to be an actual image. We'd get better color and more colors that would stand out. Right now we're just getting mostly H-alpha because of that filter we have on. But you can see, again, the gas around the center star that's being expelled. And this would be a white dwarf. I always like to have a look inside the image, so we do an annotation and see if there's anything else in there. So, it's not picking it up for some reason or other. This version of ASI Air, which is the software that runs from basically a Raspberry Pi box, is not the best, and our tracking just went absolutely nuts. So we're going to do kind of a reset here, and I'm not sure why the tracking has gone a little wild. So we're just resetting the telescope to its home position. I think it was because I accidentally hit that go to, which is a function you can do now with the new software. I'm not crazy about it, to be honest. I actually have a camera on the telescope, so I'm, well, not on the telescope, but watching the telescope going, so I can kind of see what it's doing. And guiding has gone absolutely bonkers here. So we're going to stop the guiding there. And we're going to clear that guiding. And we're going to go back to our target. Welcome to astronomy, by the way. Oops. We're going to turn tracking back on. And that may have been the issue. So we're going to go back to guiding now. Actually, we're going to go to... let's go to another target. So that one we've kind of had a look at. Lots of galaxies, as I say, we're in galaxy season. We could have a look at the Owl Nebula, which may have a little more color than the cat's eye with our filter that we have on here. So let's go to the Owl, which is Messier object 97. Messier objects are objects that were discovered by a gentleman by the name of Charles Messier a long time ago, and there are 100 plus of them. You can actually do what's called a Messier marathon certain times of year, where you try to find an either image or just find in the sky all of the 100 plus Messier objects. It's basically an all-night affair, to be sure. And we're just validating everything right now to see if we're centered on the Owl Nebula. It's found some stars, says where our target is centered, and yeah, we can kind of see it there. So let's do a shorter, let's do a 2-minute exposure on that. And you can start to see why it's called the Owl Nebula. You can see an eye here and an eye here. This is, again, a planetary nebula. And we'll see what we get from the sky. Normally I would have a webcam on the computer that I used to use when I was actually doing this from inside the observatory. Now I'm doing it from inside my house, which is a lot more comfortable and less buggy, but I'm not used to the camera being on the iMac, which is built in rather than a webcam. So if you see me kind of turning away from time to time, you'll know why, because I'm looking at other screens here. I have my broadcasting screen on the left, and then I have actually another computer over here that's monitoring the sky right now, which tells me there's 12% cloud and high haze, which also contributes to some of the distortion in the image. Best time to actually image is during the new moon. Skies are much darker, there's a lot less interference that you get from noise from all the different aspects of sky problems, like the seeing, which is the distortion or the waviness of the atmosphere, which today the seeing is not very good as well. And there are some apps out there that can help you to determine what the sky conditions are, whether it's a good night for imaging or not. I always encourage people to get out there and image anyway. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that one, a little bit, oh, I think we found a galaxy in there while we're there. Let's have a look. Yep, so we did. So we have the Owl Nebula. Let's just go to that. And then we have another Messier object, which is a galaxy down here, M108. And you can start to see the Owl Nebula a little better. Let's just bring the contrast down on that a little bit. The histogram, move it up. There you go, a little darker now. So now you can definitely see the center star kind of in this area, the white dwarf that's there now. This is also a planetary nebula. And then you can see the gas coming off of that, and it just kind of, somebody looked at it one day and said, hey, that kind of looks like the face of an owl. So that's hence why it's called the Owl Nebula. And you know, I'm actually going to do one more exposure of that. Let's do a 3-minute exposure on it, just to see if we can bring out some of the detail a little more. I always like to have a look around in the image because you never know what else you're going to see in there. In this case, we found a galaxy, which is M108 or NGC 3556. NGC just stands for New Galactic Catalog. And as I said earlier, M just stands for Messier object. So sometimes objects have multiple names. There are different other categories of objects that we'll get into as we go through the summer here as well. And just wanted to mention that in August, Starfest is coming up. It's put on by the North York Astronomical Society here in Ayton, Ontario, which is just a little north of Mount Forest. It's a darker site area. Bortle 4-5 used to be a lot darker than it actually is now, I'm told. I've gone for the last few years, and it's really great experience. There's a lot of people, amateurs and otherwise, who are interested in astronomy, and astronomers, and some scientific people there. There's lots of great lectures that go on. They even have prizes, door prizes. So they have a banquet there for everybody. There are vendors there as well with selling telescopes and accessories. So if you get a chance to go, you can still register. It's a camping site, but it's a trailer site, but all of the trailer spots at the moment for what they call partial hookup, which is electricity and water, have been sold out. Thankfully, I got one again this year. It was kind of like getting Taylor Swift tickets. You had to be right on the ball as soon as that became available to get a spot for the trailers. I know they have another set of trailer spots potentially opening, but you have to be on a waiting list for that, and those are what they call full sites. So they have sanitation that you can plug into as well. That's the main difference. Those haven't been determined yet. Like I say, I suspect there's already a full waiting list for that. But they do have a fair amount of camping sites left last time I looked, and some that actually do have electrical outlets on them. The partial sites, as I said, have water and electricity, so you can, it's a little easier if you're using a trailer. If you are, however, just into camping, it's a great place to go. It's really fantastic. Okay, we're coming up, so let's see what we got. Oh, very bright, but that's okay. We'll change the histogram a little bit more, and a little bit more, and still more. There we go. That's better. We could bring up the black point a little bit on that. Let's see what that does. There we go. So now you can start to see sort of the reddish H alpha around here, the two eyes of the owl, the center white dwarf star, and that is the Owl Nebula. And I see we have some stretchy stars here, so my guiding is probably a little off here tonight. And there's the galaxy that we looked at down here as well, which is, again, we would have to do a lot more images, and I think the temperature is changing around a little bit out there. It's about 21 degrees right now, and that certainly can change the focus on the object. So that's the Owl Nebula and a galaxy. Kind of cool. And yeah, I see something else up here. Looks like it may be a small nebula of some sort. Planetary nebula, although it's not showing what it is. Alright, so that was the Owl Nebula. We looked at the cat's eye. What else we got here that's... Oh, here, cool. It's just kind of rising. It's about 48 degrees, so we should be able to pick it up. The Ring Nebula is another planetary nebula, which means it has a white dwarf star in the center that used to be a sun probably similar to ours, and as that sun died, it became a red giant, and then kind of as over time it shrank and became a white dwarf, and you can still see the expelled gas from it. Always keep in mind that anytime you're looking through a telescope, you are basically, you own a time machine. We're looking back in time as things were many, 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 many years ago, anywhere from thousands to millions to billions of light years ago, or years ago. So even looking at the moon's light takes about 1.9 seconds to get to us roughly, so you're looking at the moon as it was 1.9 seconds roughly ago. So we're just trying to solve at the moment. Oh, lots of stars in this one, so that could be cool. So you see black right now because we basically changed the focus. So there it is. So that's the Ring Nebula. So let's do 180 seconds on the Ring Nebula, which is probably too much. With a RASA telescope, it gathers light very fast. So you probably don't need that. If I were imaging this object to make an image of it and print out a picture or anything, I would very likely do a lot of shorter exposures, probably several hundred shorter, maybe 1 minute exposures or less maybe, as not to saturate the object too much. You learn these things over time in the post-processing. There's a lot of different software. If you're a Photoshop aficionado, you can do that. I do use Photoshop for some post-processing. Typically I use PixInsight. PixInsight is one very complex software, and don't let that scare you, but there is a learning curve there for PixInsight, and honestly there are functions in there I've never used and probably never will. I should really myself take a thorough PixInsight course. It would probably help my post imaging and processing a lot, but yeah, that's one software, and there are others out there. If you look up image processing software, probably I'll do one of the videos that I'm doing right now and getting into astronomy. I will do on just post software, and some of the best ones. Some of them are free. There are expensive ones out there like PixInsight, and there are other software. Sorry, I'm distracted. I have a cat in a stroller next to me snoring, my Bengal, and he's having a good snooze here, but he's a snorer. Probably can't hear him in the background. So let's have a look at this at 180 seconds when it goes through, and again, these images are on a screen right now, so they would not really appear as big as they were if I were to process them, stack them, multiple images, and then print it out. It would be a lot more detailed. But just to give you an idea of some of the really fantastic things you can see with a telescope, this one you can actually see with a visual telescope as well. Alright, so we've got that. So that's a lot brighter, and you can see just thousands upon thousands of stars in the background here. Let's punch that image a little darker like that. Yeah, and I did oversaturate it big time. Now I'm going to do a 2-minute exposure just because that was way too long for that particular target, because it does have a bluish region on the inside, and it's really a cool object. If you have a large telescope, I used to have a 14-inch telescope. Some of these objects are really big. Right now I have a focal length of about 675 millimeters, which is inherent in the RASA, just the way it is. That's why it can gather light much quicker, or part of the reason anyway, than a normal telescope. Like this image, I did 180 seconds in a telescope that used an f5, f6, f7, or f10, like a 14-inch Celestron. Like I used to have, that same image or same quality of image could take you 10-15 minutes of actual imaging time. Like I say, the RASA is very fast, but there's a plus and minus to that. So you have to be careful that you don't let too much light in and then oversaturate your target, like I did with this. So we'll see at 120, and really even 120 seconds is probably too long, but we'll have a look and see. Would be great, by the way, if anyone who does watch this would actually subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out in terms of getting more people to the channel and doing outreach, which I really enjoy doing, and showing everybody the night sky, because honestly, you can't see much of the night sky anymore because of light pollution being a really big factor. Today, most people really can't see it. Yeah, see, that's way too saturated. So let's keep playing with this. Let's go down to a 30-second exposure, which is probably much more sensible. I don't know what we're doing for guiding. Oh, guiding is stopped, so that would explain a lot. So we're going to go back after this image and reset our guiding. I'm not sure why guiding stopped, probably because I pushed the wrong button. As I said, this mouse, Apple mouse, has a hair trigger on it, and if you just touch it the wrong way, it initiates something, which I really hate. Yeah, a little better, even at 30 seconds, probably more than we could go. You can start to see some of the bluish area here. Let's go down to, well, 10 seconds. I would probably end up stacking a lot of 10-second images to bring this one out to really where it should be. Plus the seeing conditions and the moon, which is probably rising fairly high now. We're getting there anyway. There we go. That's a little better. Now you can start to see the central star right in here a little bit, and some of the bluish green color and the outer ring color. So before we do anything more, because we have a lot of stars out here, let's restart our guiding and let it do that, and you'll kind of can initiate guide. Well, guide is in progress. Okay. Well, it says the guiding is stopped, so I don't know why it's saying guiding is in progress. Let's try that again. And there we go. So what it's doing right now is it's tracking a variety of different stars through what we call a guide scope, which is another telescope that's mounted on top of the main telescope, and it has a camera on the back of it, and that camera is actually a planetary camera, ZWO planetary camera that I use for basically guiding. And so it's moving the telescope around and getting the best possible tracking right now for the objects when we're doing long exposures. And it stopped for some reason. Oh, there we go. It's starting again. It has been a weird night, and there it goes. It stopped again. I'm not sure if we're getting some higher cloud coming in. It's possible. That can certainly interfere with guiding. So it is trying it again. The stars look kind of fuzzy, so that is an indication of the seeing being not so great. And sometimes you just have to restart the system. Again, welcome to astronomy. I'm not sure why it's clicking out. This new version of the ASI Air is got bugs. That's all I can say. I'm really hoping they come out with a fixed version of this. There's a problem with the countdown going off. There's had people having it disconnect completely, and then there's this. I've never seen this problem come up before, and it keeps saying star lost. So it could be that some clouds or high haze is moving in to the area that we're in. Now, it says it's going to start guiding, so let's see if that actually happens. It says it's guiding, yet I do not see anything on the graph. Oh, there's something starting, and that's the RA. I don't see the declination yet. Yeah, astronomy can be like that some nights, where things just don't work the way they're supposed to. So let's go have a look at what we got. Timed out waiting for the guider to settle. So let's see. Oh, no, lost the star again. I have a funny feeling. Let's move to a different part of the sky. What can we look at here? This is all things that are kind of sinking. Fireworks Galaxy, that's kind of pretty high later in the day. M85, whoop, Sneezy Cat. M82 is kind of right on the border of, it's at 42 degrees. Let's have a look. We may be coming to the end. It could be that we're getting higher level clouds. Very thin clouds that are messing up the guiding, because that's just all over the place right now. So we're just moving to a different part of the sky where those clouds may not be. And we'll see what happens. If not, we'll probably end up calling it an evening here. And this is, like I say, some of the things you have to contend with when you're getting into astronomy. It was clear earlier. There was some of that high haze, but earlier this evening I didn't think we were even going to get out because we had a little rain shower in the area. So we'll see what happens here. I think this will possibly be our last target of the night. Finishing a little earlier than I expected. Oh, there they are. Okay, so we have two galaxies here. We're going to see it's looping. Let's see. Okay, so there's, now it says it's guiding again. So let's see. Maybe it was just that part of the sky with some cloud. And it looks like that could have been the issue, which means probably we're not going to be on for much longer for that very reason. Just gonna let the guiding settle a little bit here. I mean, in this area it's actually quite good. So I have a feeling, yeah, we're getting some high cloud in there, that translucent cloud, so it interfered with the guide camera and we lost our guiding. So, because right now it's guiding quite well at 0.23, I'm really happy with that. So yeah, it looks like it's settled down, so let's try a 2-minute exposure on these two galaxies. And I just move that over so you can kind of see the both galaxies. And this is M81 and M82 respectively. There we go. So this is called the cigar galaxy for obvious reasons. It kind of looks like a cigar. It's also been known as the exploding galaxy because it looks like it's kind of blowing up. A few years ago there was a supernova in this galaxy, which was pretty cool, and unfortunately I missed it because my telescope was not working properly that night and there were clouds anyway. So actually a student I think in the UK and just ended up discovering that I'd been watching that galaxy pretty often actually, so that was my claim to fame missed. Then we have Bode's galaxy over here, M81. These galaxies are both roughly 12 million, 1.8 to 12 million light years away from us. And we have another galaxy way up here in the corner, NGC 3077. So again, if you use that annotate, if you're using it ASI Air, it's really helpful in finding other objects as well. So now I see my guiding going up again. So that may be a sign that now clouds are moving into that part of the sky as well. So I think definitely we will probably call it a night. Yeah, it's going up 1.9, almost over 1.2 now. So that is unfortunate, but again, this is what we kind of contend with in astronomy. So you can see them a little brighter at 2 minutes, and we'll just zoom in. You can see the spiral arms here a little bit, and stars. These stars are not in the galaxy, they're stars in our own galaxy. And up here with the exploding galaxy, probably wouldn't be a great place to live. There is huge amount of star formation going on here, and you can see by all this reddish area, just crazy amount of star formation. So we're going to do one more exposure at 3 minutes, and then unfortunately I think we're going to have to call it a night. We will give it a whirl probably tomorrow night if the weather is conducive. Hopefully get started a little earlier now that I think I've kind of solved my electronic focuser issues. As you can see, the guiding number is going up here, and that means probably and usually clouds, even though it looks like you can't actually see a cloud here, there can be very high clouds which makes it hazy and can cause the guide camera to actually lose the tracking on the object. And that's when you get those stars that are kind of egg-shaped. The other cause for that can actually be if you're out of focus. So now I'm going to throw all the promo stuff at you. Please subscribe to the channel. It would be really, really appreciated if you subscribe. If you're watching and enjoy this in any way, feel free to leave comments in the YouTube side or the Brampton Observatory Facebook we have set up as well. Or you can email me at bramptonobservatory@gmail.com. and now it's getting really wacky on the guiding, and it's going crazy here. So we're going to wait for this object to finish imaging, and then we're going to call it a night. Thank you all for watching this. I don't know how many of you were live, if there was anybody. If not, if you're watching it afterwards, give us a thumbs up, and you can turn on notifications so that will tell you when we do go live. And this is going to be a total mess because it is going up like crazy. And yeah, I have a piece of hardware that's supposed to tell me when cloud cover gets changed and that sort of thing, but go figure, it wasn't working correctly tonight either. So yeah, it's been one of those astronomy nights. So we're up to, yeah, I have no idea what this image is going to look like because guiding is kind of gone to hell in a handbag here. We'll let it finish, however. And then we're going to shut it down for the night. And hopefully we'll see you possibly tomorrow night. So I'm just going to get rid of my face here, and you can kind of watch the end of this. And hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you again for tuning in. It really, really is appreciated. And like I say, oh, there we go. Here it comes. Could be a mess. Oh, yes. That's what happens when your guiding goes bad, which clearly it has. Anyway, everyone, good night. And we will hopefully see you again real soon. Take care.